Hi, I'm Naomi, and this is a critical review of the lightning process training. I wanted to make this video because I also watched a lot of review videos in the lead up to making my decision about whether or not to choose to do the lightning process training. And I found that there were kind of these polar opposites going on with videos. They were either really positive, and obviously in those situations, you know, people who've recovered from things that they've been sick with for or dealing with for years, overnight recoveries. There's some great stories there, and everyone's saying, just do it, just do it, just do it. Kind of made me a bit skeptical. And in those videos, you're only seeing the successes. You're not seeing the people who didn't have success with the program, right? Those people aren't necessarily out there doing reviews, but I did see a few reviews from people who felt that it wasn't for them for whatever reason, but then partway through the video you find out that they're selling something or that they're also trying to make money off of chronic illness. So I found like there was a lot of these polar opposites, and then there's this kind of void of people who maybe didn't have good success but didn't make a review. So anyway, I want to kind of create this happy medium, share my experience, share what I thought was some red flags, some things that I didn't vibe with, and some things that I really enjoyed. So this could be a long video, but I hope you stick around. So a little bit of background for me. I had Epstein-Barr virus about 4.5 years prior to doing the training, and then post-viral fatigue was a real thing for me. It was not severe. I was still able to function and do a lot of things, but fatigue I was getting most days. So I've done various things throughout that time. If you want to learn more about what I've done and my healing and recovery journey, please leave a comment, please contact me, let me know. If you want to see more of that content, I can do that. Anyway, I wanted help with fatigue. I'd had a crash a few months prior, and that just really motivated me to try something new. So yeah, decided to do it. And right now, making this video, it's about 6 or 7 weeks since I completed the training. Now, I'm not going to go into who my trainer was, whether they're female or male, whether they were in Australia or in another country, if it was attended in person or online. I don't want to get into specifics of that. I'm not into naming and shaming. Not that there's a lot of shaming going on, but I just, I'm not going there. But I will say that I had contact with 3 different practitioners. One of them, the first person I reached out to, actually rejected me from my application interview. The second person was the person I'm really grateful that happened. Actually, it wasn't the right person for me. And then the second person I did the training with, and then since then I have also had some coaching with a third person. So it's really important to shop around. There's people all over the world doing it, and find the person that's right for you if you decide that you want to do the lightning process. Is it a cult? I understand why people think this, and there's definitely some culty vibes going on. I'm going to go into some details about that. And I've seen in some of the really positive reviews that people have said, oh, I had some resistance to joining or like participating in the training because it seemed a little bit like a cult. But then I did it and it was wonderful and whatever. I think that there's definitely a little teensy bit of indoctrination that is on purpose. But with everything in the lightning process, even though, actually, I'm going to say with most things, not everything, with most things in the lightning process, even if I had a bit of a red flag or a bit of discomfort with the topic or what they were saying, in most cases, I could see the reasoning behind it. I could understand why they're doing this. So there is a little bit of indoctrination, I think, but there's this intention there that really means well to try and help the participant to learn and embed new skills and have trust in the process and that sort of thing. So I get why it's there. And look, I'm really interested in cults, and I know quite a bit about the recruitment tactics and the manipulation and control and the agenda behind certain cults. And I can say confidently that the lightning process is not a cult. It's not a typical type of cult situation. All right, so here's an example. They're not trying to get you to recruit your friends. They're not asking you to come back and give them more money. They're not kind of manipulating you in a really negative way. Like, there's none of those red flags are there, like there are in other personal development, self-help type programs out there where they're getting you to bring more people in or come back and spend more money. So it doesn't seem problematic to me in that way. There are a few things that stood out to me as just a bit strange. Like in the application process, you have to fill out a application form and then you have to have an interview. And during the interview, there's a couple of questions that they triggered me. So one of them is like, what is the lightning process? They just flat out ask you. And I just found that question really difficult to receive and difficult to answer. And that's actually what tripped me up. These questions are actually what tripped me up and why I was rejected by the first person I had the interview with. So I can't see how a person who doesn't know about what the lightning process is could answer that question. And then I think about, well, what's the intention behind the question? What's the agenda here? And I just come up with nothing. I can't think for a second of what could be the benefit of that question. And keep in mind, all of the lightning process practitioners use the same pro forma, the same questions for their interviews and the applications forms. It's exactly the same. It's pre-written by Phil Parker, by the creators. So why ask people this question? I would love to know the answer. If someone knows, please tell me, because it doesn't seem to make any sense to me to ask someone who's been struggling, someone who's vulnerable, someone who's potentially got, triggers and defenses coming up. What is the lightning process? Like, I don't know. That's what most people are going to say. I don't know. Isn't that what you're supposed to teach me? That you can see that I get triggered by that. You might not feel the same way. For me, I was just thinking, what is this? What is the point of this? But I was very willing to, I've tried a lot of things on my recovery journey, and I was in a good place to try something new. So I was willing to kind of put some of that stuff aside. I might talk a little bit about that later as well, that I had to kind of put some of my own responses aside in order to kind of get myself through the door. So the next question that is just odd to me is, how is the lightning process going to help you? Or something like that. I don't know exactly how it's worded. How is it going to help you? How will you benefit from the lightning process? And again, they're talking to a person who most likely doesn't know what the lightning process involves or what it is. And how can they know the answer to that? And with this question, I can see a little bit maybe of the intention behind it. Like potentially they're hoping to elicit a mild kind of placebo response. That's the only thing I can think of, is that if you start verbalizing and then believing that the lightning process will help you, then there's going to be some beliefs forming, or like, that's the only thing I can come up with, because they do talk about the placebo effect in the training. So otherwise that question just seems entirely pointless to me. And I actually tripped up on this and I said something like, well, I don't know what's going to help me, but I'm certain that I will recover, right? Honest truth. That's honestly how I feel. I don't hold, at that point in time when I was having that interview with the first practitioner, I wasn't holding the lightning process as some holy grail of, that's going to heal me. I was just thinking, well, there's something out there and this is just the next thing that I'm trying, right? And I can see from their perspective that maybe that's a bit of a, maybe I'm not in the right mindset. I don't know. Anyway, that got me rejected from that particular trainer, and I went and found someone else who was actually a much better fit for me, and I did not trip up on that question. So there's just a little note for you if you decide to apply. Say something affirmative about the lightning process in response to that question. So anyway, it's not a cult, it's not culty, they're not trying to extort money out of you or recruit everybody in your life. I do feel as though there's a bit of indoctrination, and the trainers themselves are quite indoctrinated and in a very cult-like fashion have got rebuttals for lots of questions and things that are outside of their bubble. Cults, side note, cults tend to do that us and them thing. So where whatever is out there is bad, or I've got to, I can tell you why we don't subscribe to that. But in here, we're all good, right? And they want to bring people into their goodness and keep them there. And it feels to me like the practitioners are working a little bit in that way. Not that it's a cult, it's not a cult. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's definitely this there's a bit of defensiveness in the practitioners, for sure. Is it trauma informed? No. The lightning process is not trauma informed. It's not. There's a lot of psychoeducation in the actual course that is helpful, good, really neutral. However, there's some things that are potentially going to trigger people with a trauma history. And also, you're going to be in a group, unless you do a one-on-one, like you're most likely going to be in a physical or online group with other people, and you have no control over what they're saying and what they're bringing into that space as well. So if you are someone who is easily triggered and distressed by stories from other people, keywords, things that others might say, I really suggest working on that first. For me personally, I've been doing trauma therapy for like 8 years before I did the lightning process. So I had worked through a lot of that stuff. And even without a history of abuse or, being someone who was subjected to abuse, neglect, sexual abuse, that sort of thing, where there's likely to be things in your environment that are triggering you, if you're not well supported and coping well with what's happened, there's a real potential to be triggered, even just with like chronic illness triggers. Like for me personally, I used to be triggered by things like healthy people, active people. My 70-year-old neighbor walking her dog up the hill. Like, I would get highly distressed and really, really, really like upset, crying. Like, I would get really, really distressed with situations, seeing healthy people. I would resent them. It would make me angry. And I have worked on a lot of that stuff by myself and with therapists over the past little while. And so I was in a good place to be walking into that room. But if you're still feeling triggered by things, people, stories, I would say no go. You have to protect yourself. And the whole idea of recovering is to restore your nervous system, right? That's the whole point. That's what the lightning process is trying to teach you. And you're not going to be able to do that if you're just elevated all the time. So therapy first. I know that the lightning process people will tell you, oh, it doesn't matter, you have got trauma, like we deal with everything and we're just a, one-stop shop. Maybe they don't say that, but it kind of seems that way. But I would say no go. Get support. Do work on your stuff first. Go in there when you're in a good place to kind of be happy for people, recognize everyone is where they're at, to be able to hear a story that might trigger something from your past and to cope well in that situation. I think that's really important because there are not supports in place, or there certainly wasn't in the course that I did, for anyone who's feeling distressed by what's happening around them, right? The other thing that is just a big red flag, I think a lot of people have problems with the lightning process. It's the thing that they receive the most criticism about, I think, is this idea that you are creating your symptoms. Context. All right, I'm going to provide some context. In the training, they talk about, they have this no-no list of words that come up during the training, and they say, oh, these are things to kind of avoid. And I actually like that. I found that to be helpful, and I found it was really helpful for me to notice how often I say always or all the time, and these sort of things. It was really great for me because they're up there on the board and you can see them, and like it helps to kind of just stop you in your tracks and to choose a different word, choose a different explanation, choose a different mindset. I'm okay with that. This idea of active and passive in terms of what's happening to you is where it's a bit problematic for me personally. Some people vibe with it and it really lands for them and they're okay with it. If so, great. For me, no. For people who have experienced childhood abuse of any kind, or like victims of crime, things like that, big traumas, I'm wary of this concept. So I think it's helpful for me to explain a little bit about it so that you can, if you decide to go into the lightning process, you can then protect yourself from it a little bit if you feel like that's helpful for you. And that's exactly what I did because it made me feel uncomfortable. So in the lightning process, they talk about active and passive. Passive is, oh, I have fatigue, I have pain, I woke up today and there's pain, I can't do things, whatever, right? I feel blah. And I understand that kind of victim mentality is potentially not helpful. And it can create stuckness and perpetuate that victim cycle. Get that. I get what they're trying to achieve here. But then when they talk about being active and they say, well, I'm creating this, I'm doing this, that's where the wheels fall off a bit for me. And I think there is huge potential for damage to be done for people who already are experiencing low mood, poor self-esteem, self-loathing, people who have experienced some sort of trauma or abuse often find themselves in those patterns. So convincing someone, so this is the indoctrination I'm talking about, convincing someone that they are creating their own symptoms, even though it's just language, right? They're not necessarily saying that at a fundamental language. They're just talking at the fundamental level. They're just talking about changing the wording. But even just changing the wording, I think, has the potential for someone to really blame themselves and hate themselves more. And without support, someone who's not in a good place could really potentially spiral with that sort of new belief. I like the, I don't know if you've seen this book, What Happened to You, by Oprah Winfrey and Bruce Perry, I think it is. I just love that idea of what happened to you, right? They talk about adverse childhood experiences and childhood trauma and things that formed us, and looking at, okay, these things happened and in some ways you were a victim of them. You can't control it if you're a child and the perpetrator is an adult who's meant to be your caregiver. You can't. You are a victim in that situation, right? In that situation. And if that experience then translates to a dysregulated nervous system, which then leads on to chronic illness of some kind, which is what happens for a lot of people, not everyone, but for some, then I prefer the idea of what they talk about in the book is like, this happened to you. It wasn't great, but now what? This happened, this is happening. It's happening in your body, your system's doing it, and now we're going to do something about it. So the difference between you're creating it and you could do something about it is this shift between responsibility, which is you're responsible for it, which you're not, right? Versus accountability, which is this happens and it sucks, but you are responsible for changing it. So it's not you're responsible for causing it, you're accountable to change it, to take steps to improve your situation. And a lot of people with chronic illness, it takes a while to get to that point of where accountability feels comfortable. Anyway, I have a lot to say on that, but maybe I'll save that for another video. So for me, I prefer to say, okay, I see that this kind of victim language is unhelpful, but what I would rather say is my system is creating fatigue rather than I'm creating it. The difference just feels better. And like, you could argue that that it's still in that victim space. You could definitely argue that. I agree. But for me personally, that's much more helpful. It's much more helpful for me to say, my system's doing this, and what I'm going to do is X. So maybe that's helpful for you. It's also worth mentioning that they do say that you won't be going into traumatic stuff when you're actually there in the training, and I understand why. And also, it's no fun when someone in the group just hijacks the group with their story. So I totally get why they say, you know, we're going to focus on from this moment on. I actually find that to be quite useful, but I just don't like the language around you're doing it to yourself. All right, is it worth the money? Short answer, yes. Long answer, it's so complicated. If you're living with chronic illness, there's going to be potential issues around working and finances and energy, and it's complicated. And not to mention that we kind of operate in a system where people need to earn money to live. The practitioners do a great job. They also, you know, they're passionate. They need to earn money. It makes sense to be paying for something that's valuable. Like I understand all of that because I also work in that space. But I'm very passionate about making things free and accessible. And if you are familiar with my channel and my work, you'll know that it's all out there for free. I don't charge anything for any of it. I have over 100 meditations and videos on YouTube, same on Insight Timer, the meditation app, it's all free. I like to be able to put things out there for free because I know that when I was struggling, going through anxiety and other things when I was younger, I would have loved to be able to access something for free. And there's so much wonderful, there's so many wonderful resources out there, and it's great that people can just educate themselves, and I love it. Take EFT for example, tapping. I'm an EFT practitioner, and however, if I wanted to learn about EFT for myself personally, I could go onto YouTube or go onto Google and find lots of free, helpful, educational resources to help me learn about EFT. You can go onto Brad Yates' YouTube channel, and he's got hundreds, probably even thousands by now, of free EFT videos. It's amazing. I used them for years. They're great. There's free stuff out there, and I just think that things should be free and accessible. That's just what I value and what I'm all about. The Lightning process, however, it's a hard paywall. There is no information out there about it. I haven't read Phil Parker's books, so I can't comment on those, although I have seen reviews of the books where the reviewers have said that the book is essentially just a feed in to go and do the seminar. That's someone else's opinion, so I don't know about that, but there is not a lot of information out there about what the Lightning process is, how to do it, and that just feels a bit icky to me. It's not my style. I like things to be free and open source, and I'm not really into this idea of having a high price point paywall just for the privilege of sharing something that is kind of already out there. You know, it's just gross to me. However, I'm also in a position of privilege where I'm able to afford it, right? So in my experience, it's good value for money. Someone else might take years to save that money, right? So I would love to say, go and find something for free, but honestly, I don't know. I wouldn't even know where to direct you. That But if you have the resources to access this training and you're in a position to do so, then I would say it's good value for money. So I just want to finish off by talking about the benefits and the things that I have seen in the last month and a half since I did the training. I know I've been a bit critical, and I've talked about some of the red flags and some of the things that I didn't love about it. However, there's definitely lots that I did enjoy, and I am honestly, genuinely in a much better place than I was before doing the training. So my sleep has just been a train wreck basically my whole life. And as many people who suffer with hypervigilance, you know. So my sleep has improved, like overnight my sleep improved, and that has been stable and maintained for the past few weeks. So I'm really happy with that, because it's a real first for me to have like good quality sleep as an adult. I have a lot more energy and access to more energy, and I'm learning now to use the lightning process to help me access more. I don't consider myself recovered from chronic fatigue, but I still have fatigue, but it's not as frequent as it was before, and it's not as severe, and not for as long as it was before. So I still have some afternoons where I feel fatigued, and some of the time I'm just being okay with that, and some of the time I'm being really proactive with using the lightning process and other tools to help me with that. But generally feeling much better, much more capable, doing a lot more, like doing a lot more around the house. I've spent several days outside in the garden doing things. I'm going for longer walks, I'm going in the pool more, I'm exercising more, and it's just kind of becoming more and more and more. So I'm on this trajectory. I don't know where that's going to end up. I'm not one of these overnight cases where I just go, oh, you know, I was sick for 15 years and then I just did the lightning process and it all is gone. Like, that's not been my experience. However, there's been some benefits that are so significant that I can attribute it to this turning point when I did the training, and I'm really grateful for that. Something that's just been huge for me is this change in my mindset around feeling fearful and worrying about what I'm doing. Like every second of the day, whenever I'm active, I'm carrying something heavy, or I'm doing something strenuous, or I'm on my feet for too long, I would be worried about, is this going to cause me to crash? Am I going to have fatigue later? Am I going to feel okay tomorrow? Like, these thoughts would be there constantly, and I just wasn't really aware of what they were doing to my quality of life. And I must say that I was working with a coach specifically working on fatigue in the lead up to going to the lightning process, and that helped with my mindset too. But I have found that fear is just completely gone. I either feel like I can do something, or I know that I have tools to get myself to a place where I can feel like I can do something. So that's much more freeing, and that fear is completely gone. Well, this has been a long video, and if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. If you've got any questions, please leave me a comment. I don't normally work in this format. You can probably tell it's not my usual style, but if you'd like to know more about the lightning process or about other things that I have been doing on my chronic fatigue CFS recovery journey, then please let me know as well, because I'm happy to do more of these videos. Yeah, so thanks for watching, and I hope it was helpful for you.